was a sunny morning in the lands where the summer never left. The woman had travelled far with her companion, her would-be victim, as people kept searching for them, and the farther they could go, the safer they would be. The girl went out early today, as she did agree to watch over neighbours' kids, while the adults attended a funeral in a nearby village. This left the woman alone for the day, and she had plans to prepare something new for supper. Cooking, for many just a simple exercise, repeated on a daily basis, for the woman was a surprisingly enjoyable challenge. In her past, she used most of her time to hone her fighting skills. Blades, martial arts, poisons, weak points of a human body. All these have been chiseled deep into her soul. The woman knew hundreds of ways to end a life, and yet she could feel completely lost preparing a simple dish. Some would find it infuriating, but she liked this kind of effort. She didn't have to hurt others, and the results were rewarding. Well, for the most part. For today, her plan was to make something special, meat-based dish, full of smoky aroma, sweet and savory to the tongue, and delicate to the point of absurd. The woman chose a simple clothing that would cover her tattoo and left to get the ingredients. She always did stand out from the crowd. Both men and women never failed to notice her beauty. But there were many beautiful women in the world, and only a few carried marks from the house of killers. If the woman had any hopes for a quiet life, she needed to stay vigilant. When the woman reached the center of the town, she first headed to buy some spices: pimento, carnations, peppercorns. Smelling them separately, the woman couldn't fathom what the aroma of their combination would be like, once crushed together in a mortar. For the next ingredients, she went towards the farmers offering their crops. The town's market was alive with people running their errands. Each time the woman came here, she observed the figures and gestures. She listened to the haggles. Ordinary life was so peaceful and noisy at the same time. After buying tomatoes and plums, she headed for the butcher. Passing people on her way, the woman looked at how they moved. Elderly people bent under the weight of their age, children running around carelessly, muscular men carrying crates of goods, with sweat purling on their foreheads. The woman didn't observe others just for her amusement. She was scanning for her own kind, for other assassins. "You gonna bake it or smoke it?" Question from the butcher turned her attention back to what was right in front of her. His face smiled after asking, while he packed the ribs she had ordered. "I was thinking of a bit of both, actually," she replied, thinking of a recipe she wanted to follow. "Ooh, good thought." The butcher kept speaking about choosing a proper wood for the smoking, but the woman's eye caught something which she couldn't ignore. Two figures were moving through the crowd, but their steps were measured, their movements confident. The tattoos on their necks, similar to her own, marks of the killers. "And remember, let it rest before cutting, or all the juices will just leave, and the meat will become dry," finished the butcher, accepting money. "Of course. Thank you for all the advice. Bye." With these words, the woman left and blended with the crowd, feeling mixed emotions. She felt pity for the assassins looking for her. They behaved carelessly in these faraway lands. She felt irritation, as she had plans for today that would have to be changed now. Finally, she felt tired. She left her previous life and would never return to being a murderous tool, ordered around by others. Whoever came to claim her life lost their own in the process. And yet, these fools would continue to search for her. What for? was capturing her worth so many lives. They are only tools, like the one I was, she thought to herself, heading home. The woman didn't look much like her older self these days. She even learned to walk, like an ordinary person. But still, she wasn't from here, and did stand out in the crowd. Soon, the assassins would get directions to her place, so she had to prepare for their arrival. Despite slowly approaching danger, the woman didn't want to change too much of her original's plans for this day. The recipe she decided to follow could be altered, and the ribs, once seasoned, could stay in the smoker for many hours. First, she started to work on the sauce. The fruit and vegetables went into the pot and began to bubble slowly. Crushing the spices together produced a wonderful smell, reminiscent of mulled wine that people drank in the mountains. The woman smiled at the sensation. All went well, for now. While the birds chirped loudly in nearby trees, she prepared a smoker. She started fire under splintered pieces of maple in the stone structure and waited for the smoke and temperature to rise. Before noon, it was all ready, so she left the meat for the smoke to do its work and went to check on the sauce. Much of the water has evaporated by now, and the pot contained a deep purple paste. After tasting, the woman was almost shocked with how well it turned out. With a soft sigh, she took it off the fire and covered with a cloth. A couple of hours have passed since her visit to the town, and the killers would soon come to this place. The pleasant part of the day was over. She changed into darker clothes that would help her stay hidden in the shadows, and left a simple message to her companion in case she would return early. It contained a single word: hide. Then she took some weapons with her and left through a tunnel in the cellar into the trees nearby. The woman climbed onto one of the bigger branches of the tallest tree by her house. It was so wide she could lay down and would not be seen by anyone from the ground. After settling in place, she closed her eyes and began to listen to the world around her. She stayed motionless, watchful, and only when occasional gust of wind brought her smells from the smoker. Corners of her lips did raise, even if just a bit. The sun was hanging low, casting ever deeper shadows, when the woman noticed a change. Sound of distant footsteps was coming from the road. Also, the rhythm of feathered quarrels that mixed with high voices of the chicks demanding feeding that was stable for hours now has changed. Nests were becoming quiet, and more worried tune spread among the trees. Two of them, at least. Are there more? Wondered the woman. She opened her eyes and changed position, causing tree bugs to flee from her clothes. From the tree, the woman had a good view on the house and its surroundings, where only a thin, dark line rose from the smoker as the fires inside faded away. The woman did notice two figures, one on the road and second one crossing between the trees. A worry grew in her heart, as only one of them was the same of those that she saw in the town. They have sent at least 3. We'll have to leave this place too. She took out a throwing knife from a pouch by her belt and applied poison to the blade. A toxin gathered from beautifully colored frogs didn't kill, but was fast to paralyze a victim. She tied a string to the handle and waited in the shadows for the killers to get closer, with the blade in one hand. In the other, the woman held a small rock. The assassin on the road, being in more danger by staying in the open, likely had some protection under his clothes. So first, she would focus on the figure on the side. For one of them, distraction. For the other, death. Just as they were reaching the house, they passed by the tree, where the woman was. First, she threw a rock at the roof, careful to avoid leaves and branches. 1, 2. Just before the rock hit, the woman sent the dagger at the small figure, lurking in the shadows below. Moment later, she pulled hard on the string, summoning the weapon back. The two projectiles hit at the same time, with the rock making noise and getting attention of the person on the road. The figure in the shadows was struck in the head and fell dully on the ground. The dagger didn't have to go deep. If the poison entered the skull, it worked almost immediately. The string withstood the tension, and the blade flew back up without leaving a trace. By the time the other assassin looked around, his companion was lying motionless, and the woman was preparing for a second strike. Clueless about her location, the killer decided to bargain. "We just want to bring you home. Please, just listen to me." Lies. They weren't messengers, carrying gifts to make amends. His hands weren't raised in a surrender. No, they came to take her captive, or kill if she resisted. She knew all these tricks. She taught them herself to younger ones, back in the days. The woman pulled out a short sword and readied herself. She threw the dagger to the side and pulled the string. It would approach the killer at an angle, aiming at his head. Just as the assassin noticed and blocked one danger, she fell from above, crashing him with force of her fall and burying her blade deep into his body. As the life left him, she got up and went to finish off the other assassin. Quick stab through the chest stopped the heart. They had to die, yes, but she didn't want them to suffer. As the woman searched the bodies for any notes or orders, she saw who came for her this time. Assassin from the road was a middle-aged man whose face did look familiar for her. The other was a young girl with a small body. She must have been but a rookie among the killers, and yet they sent her on this mission. Were they getting shorter people? The woman could only hope that soon the House of Killers would give up on attempts to catch her, if only due to lack of hands, to send on such perilous quest. She took the bodies to the hidden cellar, deeper in the trees, and buried the entrance. It wasn't her first kill. Unfortunately, it likely wouldn't be her last. What she learned long ago was how to close her heart to any feelings that could come afterwards. She simply went back home and began to clean any signs of what happened. Not long after the darkness of the night enveloped the world, the girl came back carrying a single torch. The woman was sitting by the smoker, mixing the meat with the sauce. "I'm back. How was your day? And what is that wonderful smell?" asked the girl. "I tried making something new for the dinner." "The meat looks so soft. You are getting much better at cooking." "Thank you," replied the woman, with noticeable nostalgia in her voice. "Did something happen?" "We'll have to move. Not today, but soon enough." Oh, it wasn't first such situation, and the girl knew other questions could wait. For now, they just settled comfortably with bowls in their hands, enjoying the dish. The world was a dangerous place, especially for a duo like them, former assassin and her would-be target. That is why they cherished each simple moment, each calm day. And now, they would just share a meal and enjoy the evening, with crickets playing songs in the grass around them.